Did you know the man who wrote Elvis Presley's first hit song never received his fair share of royalties and died in poverty? Do you know which famous Elvis anthem was originally a woman's answer song, a sharp rebuke to a no-good man? What if the birth of rock and roll wasn't a single big bang, but a series of small, fortunate accidents in a tiny Memphis studio? The story of Elvis is often told as a singular event. A handsome kid from Tupelo walked into Sun Records and changed the world. But that's not the whole story. He didn't create his sound out of thin air. He was a student, he was a fan, he was a conduit for music that was already raw, vibrant, and powerful. He was listening to the rhythm and blues played on black radio stations, the songs coming out of places like Chess Records in Chicago and Specialty Records in New Orleans. He took that music, blended it with the country and gospel he also loved, and created something new. But the foundation was already there. These 18 songs are part of that foundation. They are the original blueprints. They tell the story of the brilliant, often overlooked black artists who laid the groundwork for a musical revolution. This is the story of where the music came from. Number 18 was a failed blues singer, the true father of rock and roll. Arthur Big Boy Crudup received a royalty settlement of $60,000 in the early 1970s, but he never saw the money due to legal complications. He died in 1974, having worked as a manual laborer and bootlegger for much of his life, despite his songs being recorded by one of the biggest stars in history. Elvis's iconic recording of That's All Right was a complete accident, born out of frustration during a studio break. The song's original 1946 release on RCA Victor's Bluebird label was a commercial failure. The story of rock and roll arguably begins not with a bang, but with a tired sigh. The man who wrote the song that launched Elvis Presley was Arthur Big Boy Crudup. He was born in Forest, Mississippi in 1905. He was a product of the Delta. His music was rooted in the harsh realities of rural life. He moved to Chicago in the late 1930s, part of the Great Migration, hoping to make a living with his guitar. He didn't find instant success. He played on street corners and lived in a packing crate shanty. He was eventually discovered by a record producer named Lester Melrose, who was a key figure in the Chicago blues scene. Melrose signed Crudup to RCA Victor's Bluebird label. Crudup's style was raw and direct. It was country blues. He had a powerful voice and a percussive, rhythmic guitar style. He wasn't a slick or polished performer. His music felt real. In September 1946, he recorded a song he had written called That's All Right. The song is a simple lament. It's about a relationship ending. The lyrics are straightforward. That's all right, mama. That's all right for you. That's all right, mama. Just any way you do. It's not angry or bitter. It sounds more resigned, weary. The original recording is sparse. It's just Crudup's voice, his acoustic guitar, and a stand-up bass. It has a shuffling rhythm, a walking blues feel. It's a good song, but it didn't set the world on fire. It was just another blues record in a sea of blues records. It faded away. Crudup continued to record, but major stardom eluded him. He was a working musician, not a superstar. Fast forward to July 5th, 1954. A young truck driver named Elvis Presley was in Sun Studio in Memphis, Tennessee. He was there with guitarist Scotty Moore and bassist Bill Black. They were trying to cut a record for the studio's owner, Sam Phillips. The session was not going well. They had been trying to record ballads, slow songs that might get some radio play. Nothing was clicking. Sam Phillips was about to give up. During a break, Elvis started fooling around. He picked up his guitar and started playing That's All Right. But he didn't play it like Arthur Crudup. He played it fast. He sang it with an explosive energy. He transformed the weary blues song into a joyous, defiant burst of sound. Bill Black heard him and joined in, slapping his bass in a percussive rhythm that drove the song forward. Scotty Moore added a bright, clean guitar lick that was more country than blues. It was a fusion. It was the blues melody and structure, the country instrumentation, and a new uncontainable energy. Sam Phillips heard the noise from the control room. He stuck his head out and asked, "What are you doing?" They said they didn't know. Phillips told them to do it again, and this time he hit the record button. In that moment, something new was created. It wasn't blues, it wasn't country, it was rockabilly. It was the beginning. Sam Phillips knew he had something special. He took an acetate of the recording to a local DJ, Dewey Phillips, no relation. Dewey played the song on his Red, Hot, and Blue radio show. The phone lines lit up immediately. Listeners went crazy for it. You know, he had to play it over and over again. Many people who called in thought Elvis was a black singer. The song's energy and rhythm were straight from the R&B world. But when they found out he was a white kid from Memphis, it created even more of a sensation. It was the perfect storm. The song crossed racial lines. It broke down barriers on the segregated airwaves of the 1950s. But the story has a dark side. Arthur Crudup wrote the song, he created the melody and the words, but he saw very little of the fortune it generated. The world of music publishing in the 1940s and 50s was notoriously exploitative, especially for black artists. Crudup fought for years to get the royalties he was owed. He eventually received a small settlement, but it was a fraction of what he deserved. The man whose song started a revolution died without ever fully benefiting from his creation. It's a crucial, often forgotten part of the story. The birth of rock and roll was a moment of incredible creation, but it was also built on a system of deep inequality. Number 17 did a prophecy of good times accidentally ignite a revolution. The phrase "good rockin' tonight" was black slang from the 1940s with a double meaning referring both to dancing and to something more intimate. Roy Brown, the original artist, was a trained singer who had once hoped to be a crooner like Bing Crosby. When Elvis recorded the song in 1954, he famously slapped the back of his acoustic guitar to create a percussive sound, a technique he picked up from watching other blues musicians. Roy Brown was not your typical blues shouter. He was born in New Orleans in 1925 and had a smoother, more sophisticated vocal style than many of his contemporaries. He was influenced by the pop crooners of the day. He had a powerful voice, but he could also be subtle. In 1947, he wrote a song called "Good Rockin' Tonight." He tried to sell it to a popular blues singer named Wynonie Harris. Harris rejected it, so Brown decided to record it himself for Deluxe Records. His original version was a jump blues number. It had a swinging rhythm, a full horn section, and a sense of excitement. The lyrics were a proclamation. I heard the news, there's good rockin' tonight. It was a call to the dance floor. The song was a huge hit in the R&B world. It went to number 1 on the R&B charts in 1948. It established Roy Brown as a major star. It also helped to popularize the word rocking in a musical context, laying a verbal foundation for the genre that was to come. A year after Brown's hit, the singer he had originally offered the song to, Wynonie Harris, decided to record it. Harris was a harder-edged performer. His version was louder, wilder, and more explicit in its delivery. It was also a massive hit. The song became a standard in the R&B world. It was a party anthem. It was a song that promised a good time. The message was simple and universal. Let go of your troubles and dance. Elvis Presley was a teenager in Memphis when these songs were hits. He was listening to the radio. He was absorbing these sounds. In September 1954, just a couple of months after he recorded That's All Right, he went back into Sun Studio to record his second single. He chose Good Rockin' Tonight, but he didn't record it like Roy Brown or Wynonie Harris. He stripped it down. He took out the horns. He took out the swinging piano. He made it a raw 3-piece rockabilly tune. It was just him on acoustic guitar, Scotty Moore on electric guitar, and Bill Black on bass. Elvis's version is pure, nervous energy. His voice is high and excited. He sounds like a kid who can't believe his own good luck. He sings with a breathless intensity. The key change is the percussive sound. Elvis used his acoustic guitar as a drum, slapping the body to create a driving rhythm. This was not a technique used by sophisticated band leaders. It was a raw, primal sound. It gave the song a frantic, urgent feel. Scotty Moore's guitar solo is sharp and to the point, it's a burst of energy that matches Elvis's vocal. And Bill Black's bass playing is, as always, the solid anchor that holds it all together. When you compare Elvis's version to Roy Brown's, you hear the transformation of R&B into rock and roll. Roy Brown's version is for a dance hall with a full band. It's for adults. Elvis's version is for teenagers in a garage. It's raw, stripped down, and immediate. It took the sophisticated joy of the original and turned it into raw, youthful rebellion. Sam Phillips released it as the A side of Elvis's second single. It was another regional hit. It further established the new sound that was coming out of Memphis. It was another piece of the puzzle. Elvis had taken a well-known R&B hit and completely reinvented it. He made it his own. He showed that this new music wasn't a fluke. It was a style. It was a movement. And once again, it came directly from the heart of the black music community. Roy Brown had prophesied a night of good rocking, and a kid from Tupelo took that prophecy and turned it into a new reality for a whole generation. Number 16, how did a 1930s blues song become a rockabilly blueprint? Kokomo Arnold, the original writer of Milk Cow Blues, played his guitar left-handed and upside down, using a bottleneck slide to create his signature sound. The song was so influential that it was later recorded by artists as diverse as Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys, Aerosmith, and Willie Nelson. Elvis Presley's 1955 recording of the song famously starts as a slow blues before he stops and declares, "Hold it, fellas. That don't move me. Let's get real gone for a change," before launching into a frantic rockabilly version. The roots of this song go deep, back to the 1930s. The original artist was a man named James Kokomo Arnold. He was born in Georgia in 1901 and was one of the most distinctive slide guitar players of his era. He had a unique style. He played a standard right-handed guitar left-handed without restringing it. This meant the strings were upside down for him. It gave his playing an unusual quality. He was known for his rapid-fire guitar licks and his high-pitched, almost strained singing voice. In 1934, he recorded a song called Milk Cow Blues for Decca Records. The song was a standard 12-bar blues. The lyrics were full of classic blues imagery about a woman who has left him. "I'm gonna buy me a milk cow, I'm gonna milk her in my baby's pail." It was full of innuendo and heartbreak. Arnold's version is pure, raw, pre-war blues. It's just him and his steel-bodied national guitar. It's a powerful, lonely sound. The song had a long life before Elvis got to it. It was a blues standard. In the 1940s, it was adapted by Western swing bands. Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys recorded a famous version in 1946. They changed the title to Brain Cloudy Blues and gave it their signature swinging dance hall sound. They kept the blues structure but added fiddles, steel guitars, and a full band. This is a crucial step in the song's journey. It shows how a black blues song could cross over and be adapted by white country musicians. The lines were already blurring. In December 1954, Elvis, Scotty, and Bill were back in Sun Studio. They decided to tackle Milk Cow Blues Boogie. Their recording is one of the most self-aware and theatrical moments of the early Sun sessions. The record starts with a slow, exaggerated, almost parody version of a blues song. Elvis sings in a deep, mournful voice. It sounds like he's doing an impression of a sad bluesman. After a few lines, he abruptly stops the band. "Hold it, fellas," he says, his voice suddenly clear and commanding. "That don't move me. Let's get real gone for a change." Then Bill Black lays down a frantic slap bass line, and the band launches into a blistering, high-speed rockabilly version of the song. This little piece of studio theater is incredibly significant. It's Elvis consciously and publicly rejecting the old, slow way of doing things. He is literally stopping the past in its tracks and demanding a new, faster, more exciting future. He is announcing the arrival of a new sound. You know, the rest of the recording is pure rockabilly fire. Elvis's vocal is wild and uninhibited. Scotty Moore's guitar solo is a masterpiece of speed and precision. The whole thing feels like it's about to fly off the rails at any moment, but it never does. It's controlled chaos. The Sun recording of Milk Cow Blues Boogie is a perfect example of what made Elvis's early music so revolutionary. He wasn't just covering a song, he was deconstructing it and rebuilding it. He took a classic blues tune, acknowledged its history, and then deliberately transformed it into something new and modern. The theatrical intro was a statement of intent. It was Elvis drawing a line in the sand. He was showing his audience that he knew where the music came from, but he was also telling them where it was going. He was taking the country blues of Kokomo Arnold, filtering it through the western swing of Bob Wills, and adding his own unique, explosive energy. The result was pure rock and roll. Number 15 was a song about a children's game, a Declaration of Independence. The original version of Baby Let's Play House by Arthur Gunter contains the line, "You may have a pink Cadillac, but don't you be nobody's fool." Elvis Presley changed this lyric in his version to, "You may go to college, you may go to school, you may have a pink Cadillac, but don't you be nobody's fool," directly referencing a car he would soon make famous. Arthur Gunter recorded the song for Excello Records, a small Nashville label, and it was his only hit. He earned very little from it and later worked as a school bus driver. Arthur Gunter was another musician whose brush with fame was fleeting. He was born in Tennessee in 1926. He learned to play guitar and sang in a gospel quartet with his brothers. In the early 1950s, he moved to Nashville, hoping to break into the music business. He recorded a song he had written, Baby Let's Play House, for Excello Records in 1954. The song was a mid-tempo, shuffling blues. It has a hypnotic, repetitive guitar riff that is incredibly catchy. Gunter's voice is laid back and conversational. The lyrics use the children's game of playing house as a metaphor for a relationship. But there's a possessive, almost threatening edge to it. "I'd rather see you dead, little girl, than to be with another man." This was a common trope in blues lyrics, a raw expression of jealousy and ownership. The song was a regional hit, but it didn't make Gunter a national star. Elvis Presley recorded his version in February 1955. It was his fourth single for Sun Records. Once again, he took the basic framework of the R&B original and supercharged it. Elvis's version is faster, more aggressive, and more vocally adventurous. The most striking thing about his recording is his singing. He uses vocal hiccups, stutters, and echoes that add a frantic, nervous energy to the song. When he sings the line, "I'd rather see you dead, little girl," he sounds genuinely unhinged. It's a shocking moment on a pop record from 1955. It's raw and dangerous. The instrumentation is also key. The hypnotic guitar riff from the original is still there, played by Scotty Moore, but it's sharper and more defined. Bill Black's slap bass is a powerful driving force. But the real secret weapon on this track is Elvis's own rhythm guitar. He plays with a raw percussive style that adds to the song's relentless drive. The Sun Records are often praised for Scotty Moore's lead guitar, but Elvis's rhythm playing was just as important in creating the rockabilly sound. The lyric change is also significant. By adding the line about going to college and school and keeping the reference to the pink Cadillac, Elvis was tailoring the song to his teenage audience. He was singing about their world, their aspirations, and their possessions. The pink Cadillac in particular would become a powerful symbol of rock and roll success and excess, and Elvis cemented that connection with this song. Baby Let's Play House was Elvis's first song to make a national chart, reaching number 5 on the Billboard Country and Western chart. This was a major breakthrough. It showed that his hybrid sound could appeal to a wider audience. It was a blues song played in a new style that was being embraced by country music fans. The lines were blurring more and more. It also demonstrated the power of Elvis's interpretive genius. He could take a relatively obscure R&B song and turn it into a national hit. He could find the rebellious core of the song and amplify it. Arthur Gunter's song was a moody blues shuffle. Elvis Presley's version was a declaration of youthful and slightly dangerous independence. It was another crucial step on the road to rock and roll superstardom, and another example of an R&B artist being left behind by the wave he helped create. Number 14, Can a Train Song Capture the Soul of a Nation? Mystery Train was originally written and recorded by Junior Parker, a Memphis blues singer who was discovered by Ike Turner. The song's lyrics were inspired by the Carter family's Worried Man Blues, a classic country song making its roots a blend of blues and folk traditions. Sam Phillips, who owned Sun Records, also owned the publishing rights to Mystery Train, meaning he profited from both Junior Parker's original version and Elvis's more famous cover. The story of Mystery Train is a Memphis story. It's a Sun Records story. Herman Junior Parker was a singer and harmonica player who was part of the vibrant Memphis blues scene in the early 1950s. He had a smooth, mournful voice. In 1953, he and his band, the Blue Flames, went into Sun Studio to record for Sam Phillips. They recorded a song Parker had written, Mystery Train. The original version is a masterpiece of atmospheric blues. It has a slow, loping rhythm that mimics the sound of a train on the tracks. The guitar playing is swampy and full of echo. Parker's voice is haunting. He sings about a train taking his baby away. Train I ride 16 coaches long. Well, that long black train got my baby and gone. It's a classic blues theme, loss, separation, and the unstoppable force of fate, symbolized by the train. The song has an eerie, almost ghostly quality. It's a deep, dark Mississippi blues. It was a hit on the R&B charts. 2 years later, in July 1955, Elvis Presley recorded Mystery Train in the very same studio. It was the last single he would release on Sun Records before moving to the major label RCA Victor. It was, in many ways, the culmination of everything he had learned and created at Sun. Elvis's version starts out similarly to Parker's. It has the same chugging rhythm, but then it transforms. As the song progresses, it gets faster and faster. The mood shifts from mournful loss to defiant optimism. Elvis's vocal becomes more powerful and confident. The real genius of Elvis's version lies in the arrangement. You know, he and the band seamlessly blend Mystery Train with a snippet of another song, I'm Gonna Move to the Outskirts of Town, but they change the lyric to, it's taken my baby, but it never will again. This small lyrical change completely alters the song's meaning. Junior Parker's song is about a man who is a passive victim of fate. The train has taken his baby, and she's gone for good. Elvis's character starts out as a victim, but by the end of the song, he is defiant. He declares that the train will never take his baby again. He has taken control of his own destiny. It's a subtle but profound shift. It transforms a song of despair into a song of hope and youthful rebellion. Scotty Moore's guitar work is brilliant. His playing is clean and sharp, cutting through the mix. Bill Black's bass provides the relentless, driving rhythm. The production by Sam Phillips is perfect. He uses a slapback echo effect that gives the record a sense of depth and excitement. The whole recording feels alive, like it's moving forward, picking up speed, just like a train leaving the station. Mystery Train is often cited by critics as one of the greatest and most important recordings of the rock and roll era. The music critic Greil Marcus wrote a whole book about American culture using this song as his central metaphor. It represents the fusion of black and white musical traditions, the transformation of rural blues into urban rock and roll, and the American myth of the open road and the promise of a new future. It was the perfect farewell to Sun Records. Elvis had arrived as a nervous teenager and was leaving as a confident star who had forged a new sound. And that sound was built on the foundation of a haunting blues song, written and recorded by a Memphis bluesman in the same small room just 2 years earlier. Number 13, How Did a Song by a Doo-Wop Group Become a Rocker's Warning? Clyde McPhatter, the lead singer of The Drifters on Money Honey, was only 20 years old when he recorded the song. The song's writers, Jesse Stone, was a black bandleader and arranger who wrote many early rock and roll hits under the pseudonym Charles Calhoun to avoid conflicts with his publishing company. Elvis's version of the song was recorded during his first ever session for his new label, RCA, in January 1956, marking his transition from a regional star to a national phenomenon. The Drifters were one of the most important vocal groups of the 1950s. Their lead singer, Clyde McPhatter, had a high, soaring tenor voice that was incredibly influential. In 1953, they recorded Money Honey for Atlantic Records. The song was written by Jesse Stone, a key figure in the development of R&B. The Drifters version is a classic piece of early R&B. It's a vocal group harmony song, but has a harder edge than most doo-wop. The song tells a story. A man is out of money, and his landlord and his girlfriend are giving him a hard time. The chorus is a desperate plea. I want money, honey, if you want to get along with me. McFadder's lead vocal is full of emotion. He sounds genuinely desperate. The backing vocals provide a smooth, gospel-inflected counterpoint. The song has a mid-tempo shuffle and a prominent piano part. It was a huge R&B hit, spending weeks at #1. It was a sophisticated, witty, and soulful record. In January 1956, Elvis Presley was in a studio in Nashville. It was his first recording session for RCA Victor, the major label that had just bought his contract from Sun Records for the then unheard of sum of $35,000. The pressure was on. He had to prove that he wasn't just a regional fad. He had to deliver a hit. For these sessions, RCA brought in a bigger band, including the great country guitarist Chet Atkins and the pianist Floyd Kramer. One of the songs they recorded was Money Honey. Elvis's version is a world away from the Drifters' original. He strips away the smooth vocal harmonies and the sophisticated arrangement. He turns it into a frantic, almost chaotic rock and roll song. His vocal is sneering and aggressive. He doesn't sound desperate for money. He sounds angry that anyone would dare to ask him for it. He spits out the lyrics with a rebellious swagger. He adds his signature hiccups and stutters, making the song feel even more unpredictable. The instrumentation is also completely different. The piano, played by Floyd Kramer, is much more prominent and aggressive. It's no longer a polite R&B accompaniment. It's a pounding rock and roll instrument. The drums are louder. The whole track has a harder, more driving feel. It's the Sun Records sound, but amplified and put on steroids by the bigger RCA studio and budget. When Elvis sings the line, I said, "What do you want, honey?" It sounds less like a question and more like a threat. This recording shows the evolution of Elvis's style. He was moving away from the pure rockabilly of his Sundays and incorporating more elements of mainstream rock and roll. But he was still drawing from the same R&B well. He took a song that was witty and soulful and turned it into a snarling anthem of youthful defiance. It was a perfect statement for his major label debut. It showed that even with a bigger band and a bigger studio, he hadn't lost his edge. He was still the same rebellious kid from Memphis, but now he was ready to take on the world. He was still using the brilliant work of black artists like the Drifters and Jesse Stone as his raw material, transforming their stories and sounds into his own unique message. Number 12, did a woman's song become the King's anthem? Hound Dog was written in 1950 by two white teenagers, Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller, specifically for a black blues singer named Big Mama Thornton. The song was an answer record to an earlier hit, and the lyrics are from a woman's perspective, telling off a freeloading man. Big Mama Thornton's original recording sold around 500,000 copies and was a #1 R&B hit for 7 weeks, yet she reportedly received only one royalty check for $500. This is one of the most famous and most complicated stories in rock and roll history. It begins in 1952 with two young white songwriters, Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller. They were still teenagers, but they were already writing brilliant R&B songs. They were hired to write a song for Willie Mae Big Mama Thornton. She was a powerful, commanding blues singer. Lieber and Stoller wrote Hound Dog for her in a matter of minutes. The song is a classic putdown. A woman is kicking her lazy, good-for-nothing man out of the house. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't never caught a rabbit, and you ain't no friend of mine. The lyrics are sharp, witty, and full of attitude. Big Mama Thornton recorded the song for Peacock Records in 1952. Her version is a slow, grinding 12-bar blues. It's raw and powerful. Thornton's voice is incredible. She growls, she shouts, she commands. She sounds like a woman you do not want to cross. The band is loose and swampy. The guitar playing is gritty. It's a phenomenal blues performance. The record was a huge hit in the R&B world. It established Thornton as a major talent, but Like so many black artists of her era, she saw almost none of the financial rewards. The song was covered several times over the next few years, mostly by country and western artists who turned it into a novelty song. But in 1956, Elvis Presley heard a version by a Las Vegas lounge act called Freddie Bell and the Bellboys. They performed it as a fast, upbeat comedy number. Elvis loved it. He decided to record it. Elvis recorded Hound Dog in July 1956. His version bears almost no resemblance to Big Mama Thornton's original. He took the fast tempo from the Freddie Bell version, but he stripped away the comedy. He turned it into a rock and roll explosion. The song is driven by DJ Fontana's relentless drumming. The guitars are loud and distorted, and then there's Elvis's voice. He attacks the song with a ferocious energy. He snarls, he sneers, he shouts. He completely changes the meaning of the lyrics. When he sings, "You ain't nothing but a hound dog," he's not singing to a lazy boyfriend. He's singing to the world. He's a rebel, yelling at the establishment. The song became infamous after Elvis performed it on The Milton Berle Show. He sang it with a slow, grinding tempo, closer to the original, and at the end, he did his famous swiveling hip motions. The performance caused a national scandal. Critics called him vulgar and obscene. It cemented his reputation as a dangerous figure, a threat to decent American values. The controversy only made him more popular with teenagers. Hound Dog became one of Elvis's biggest and most iconic hits. It was a number one smash on the pop, R&B, and country charts simultaneously. It was a cultural phenomenon. But the story of Big Mama Thornton is often left out. She was the one who gave the song its original power and attitude. Her performance was a fierce declaration of female independence. Elvis's version was a brilliant piece of rock and roll, but it was a different song entirely. He took the title and the basic words and created something new. The story of Hound Dog is a perfect illustration of the complex cultural exchange that created rock and roll. It involved black blues singers, white teenage songwriters, Las Vegas lounge acts, and a rebellious kid from Memphis. It also highlights the deep economic injustice that was at the heart of the music business. Big Mama Thornton created a masterpiece and got almost nothing for it. Elvis Presley turned it into a global anthem and became the king of rock and roll. Number 11 was a New Orleans parade, a secret ingredient for rock and roll. Lloyd Price wrote, "Lawdy Miss Claudie," when he was just 19 years old, based on a catchphrase used by a local New Orleans radio DJ. The iconic piano part on the original 1952 recording was played by a then unknown musician named Fats Domino. When Elvis recorded the song in 1956, he played the piano himself, a rare occurrence on his major studio recordings. New Orleans has its own unique musical DNA. The city's rhythm is a mix of blues, jazz, Caribbean sounds, and 100 other influences. That sound is all over Lawdy Miss Claudie. The song was written by a young New Orleans native named Lloyd Price. In 1952, he was a teenager with a catchy tune and a great title. The phrase Lawdy Miss Claudie, a G-rated version of Lordy Miss Gertie, was a popular sign-off used by a local DJ named James Okie Dokie Smith. Miss Price built a song around it. He took it to Art Rupe at Specialty Records, who was in town looking for new talent. And Rupe liked the song, but felt it needed a stronger piano part. The session's producer, Dave Bartholomew, brought in a local piano player who was just starting to make a name for himself, Fats Domino. The original recording of Lawdy Miss Claudie is pure New Orleans R&B. It's built on Domino's instantly recognizable piano triplets. That rolling, percussive piano style would become a cornerstone of New Orleans R&B and early rock and roll. Price's vocal is youthful and full of yearning. He sings about a girl who has captured his heart. The song has a loping, infectious rhythm that makes you want to move. It feels like a street parade. It was a massive hit, a number one on the R&B charts. It launched Lloyd Price's career and helped to define the New Orleans sound for a national audience. Elvis Presley was a huge fan of Lloyd Price. He loved the song. In February 1956, during the same sessions that produced Heartbreak Hotel, he recorded his own version of Lawdy Miss Claudie. This session was significant because Elvis took control in a way he hadn't before at RCA. He sat down at the piano and started playing the song himself. He wasn't a virtuoso pianist like Fats Domino, but he could play. He pounded out the chords with a raw rock and roll energy. His piano playing drives the track. Elvis's vocal performance is incredible. He sings with a passion and intensity that is almost overwhelming. He sounds like he's about to explode. He stretches out the vowels. He shouts. He pleads. He completely inhabits the song. The band, including Scotty Moore on guitar and DJ Fontana on drums, locks in behind him. They create a powerful, driving rhythm. The result is a version of Lawdy Miss Cloudy that is much harder and more aggressive than the original. Lloyd Price's version is a charming, danceable R&B tune. Elvis's version is a desperate, full-throated rock and roll anthem. This recording is important because it shows Elvis is more than just a singer. It shows him as a musician and an arranger. He was the one who decided to cut the song. He was the one who sat at the piano and dictated the feel. He was shaping his own sound. He was taking the music he loved, the New Orleans R&B of his youth, and filtering it through his own unique sensibility. He was honoring the original while simultaneously creating something new. He was showing his deep love and respect for the source material, but he wasn't afraid to rough it up, to give it his own rebellious energy. The spirit of that New Orleans street parade was still there, but Elvis had turned it into a high-speed drag race. Number 10. Could the same man be both the beginning and the future? Arthur Big Boy. Crudup is the only songwriter to have 3 of his songs covered by Elvis on his official studio albums. Elvis recorded So Glad You're Mine in 1956, a full decade after Crudup's original, for his second album, Elvis. Despite Elvis's loyalty to his material, Crudup's financial struggles continued for his entire life, a stark contrast to the massive success his songs brought to others. We return to the man who started it all, Arthur Big Boy Crudup. His influence on Elvis was not a one-time event. It was a deep and lasting connection. Elvis didn't just cover Crudup's most famous song, he returned to his catalog time and again. It shows how fundamental Crudup's raw, emotional blues style was to Elvis's own musical makeup. In 1946, the same year he recorded That's All Right, Crudup also recorded So Glad You're Mine. The original is another classic piece of raw country blues. It has a shuffling rhythm and a simple, direct lyric. It's a song of joy and possession. My baby's long and tall, she's like a cannonball. I'm so glad you're mine. Crudup's voice is full of gravel and emotion. His guitar playing is rhythmic and hypnotic. It's a straightforward, heartfelt performance. Like many of his records, it was respected in the blues world, but not a major commercial hit. 10 years later, in January 1956, Elvis was in New York for his second set of RCA sessions. He was now a major star. He was recording his first full-length album. He chose to include So Glad You're Mine. This was a significant choice. He could have recorded any song he wanted. He had access to the best songwriters in the country, but he chose to record another obscure blues song by Arthur Crudup. It was a tribute to his roots. Elvis's version of So Glad You're Mine is different from his other Crudup covers. It's not a high-speed rockabilly transformation. Instead, he plays it as a slow, swaggering 12-bar blues. This recording showcases a different side of Elvis. It shows his confidence and maturity as a blues singer. His voice is deep and resonant. He sings with a relaxed, confident swagger. He's not the frantic kid from the Sun Sessions. He's a man in control of his talent. The band is fantastic. DJ Fontana's drumming is subtle and swinging. The piano, played by Shorty Long, provides a rolling boogie-woogie feel. Scotty Moore's guitar solo is a masterpiece of bluesy elegance. It's tasteful and melodic. The whole track has a late-night, smoky barroom feel. It's a sophisticated and authentic blues performance. It proved that Elvis wasn't just a rock and roller, he was a legitimate blues singer. He understood the feel and the phrasing of the music. He could sing a slow blues with as much conviction as a fast rocker. By recording this song, Elvis was making a statement. He was reminding his audience, and perhaps himself, where his music came from. He was paying homage to one of his heroes. At the height of his newfound fame, he took the time to shine a light on the work of a forgotten bluesman from Mississippi. The tragedy, of course, is that the light didn't translate into financial security for Arthur Crudup. The system was still broken, but the musical connection was real and undeniable. The same man who wrote the song that started Elvis's journey was still providing him with powerful material as he became the biggest star in the world. Number 9, Can You Hear a Revolution in a B-side? My Baby Left Me was the third Arthur Big Boy Crudup song Elvis recorded, making Crudup one of his most covered artists. The song was released in 1956 as the B-side to I Want You, I Need You, I Love You, and many critics and fans believe the B-side was the superior track. Despite its B-side status, the song was a significant hit in its own right, showcasing the depth of Elvis's R&B influences even as he became a pop superstar. The deep well of Arthur Crudup's music provided yet another gem for Elvis. Crudup recorded My Baby Left Me in 1950. It's a classic blues lament. The lyrics are a straightforward tale of heartbreak. My baby left me, never said a word. Was it something I done, something she had heard? Crudup's original version is a moody, mid-tempo blues. His voice is full of genuine pain. The guitar work is simple and effective. It's another powerful, emotional performance from a master of the form. It wasn't one of his bigger hits, just another solid record in his extensive catalog. In January 1956, during his first RCA session in New York, Elvis recorded his version. It was released in April of that year as a B-side. Often, the B-side was a throwaway track, but in the early days of rock and roll, B-sides could be just as exciting and influential as the A-sides. That was certainly the case here. Elvis's My Baby Left Me is an absolute powerhouse. It's one of the finest examples of his rockabilly sound, even though it was recorded after he left Sun. The track starts with a jolt. A driving drum beat from DJ Fontana and a slapping bass line from Bill Black kick things off. Then Elvis's voice comes in, full of energy and attitude. He takes Crudup's mournful song and injects it with a dose of frantic, nervous energy. He sounds less sad and more angry. The heartbreak has been replaced by a defiant swagger. He sings with a raw power that is startling. The recording has a live, spontaneous feel, even though it was made in a big New York studio. Scotty Moore's guitar playing is phenomenal. He plays 2 solos on the track, both of which are short, sharp bursts of rockabilly perfection. The sound is clean, trebly, and full of country-inflected licks. It's the perfect counterpoint to Elvis's bluesy vocal. The whole band is on fire. You can hear the sound of a group of musicians who have been playing together on the road night after night. They are tight, they are powerful, and they are creating a sound that is entirely their own. My Baby Left Me is a perfect synthesis of all of Elvis's influences. The song itself is pure blues. The vocal delivery is R&B. The guitar playing is country. The rhythm is rock and roll. It's all there in 1 2-minute and 12-second burst of energy. Many people who bought the single for the pop ballad on the A-side were stunned when they flipped it over and heard the raw power of the B-side. It was a reminder that even as he was becoming a polished pop star, the rebellious kid from Memphis was still there. He was still deeply connected to the raw, emotional blues of Arthur Big Boy Crudup. It was the music that had first inspired him, and it was a source of power he would return to throughout his career. Number 8, What Happens When Gospel Ambition Meets Earthly Desire. The original Trying to Get to You was recorded in 1954 by the Eagles, a black vocal group from Washington, D.C., and is often considered a masterpiece of doo-wop. The song's writers, Rose Marie McCoy and Charles Singleton, were a prolific black songwriting duo who penned hits for artists like Nat King Cole, Ruth Brown, and Ike and Tina Turner. Elvis's version, recorded for his first RCA album, is a passionate vocal performance that many consider one of the best of his entire career. The world of 1950s R&B was filled with incredible vocal groups, and the Eagles were one of them. In 1954, they recorded Trying to Get to You. The song is a beautiful, gospel-infused ballad. It's a testament to enduring love. The lyrics speak of traveling over mountains and crossing rivers, all in an effort to be reunited with a loved one. The lead vocal is soaring and emotional. The backing harmonies are lush and complex. The song builds to a powerful climax. It has the emotional weight and spiritual fervor of a great gospel song, but it's applied to a secular theme. It's a stunning piece of music. It was not a huge commercial hit, but it was deeply respected by those who heard it. One of the people who heard it and loved it was Elvis Presley. In 1956, when he was recording his first album for RCA, Elvis Presley, he decided to cut his own version. His recording of Trying to Get to You is one of the most passionate and compelling vocal performances he ever committed to tape. He sings the song as if his life depends on it. You can hear the strain and the desperation in his voice. He pushes his vocal range to its absolute limit. He sounds like a man on a sacred mission. The arrangement is simple and direct. It puts Elvis's voice front and center. The band provides a steady, supportive rhythm. Scotty Moore's guitar playing is tasteful and restrained, adding little bluesy fills between the vocal lines. The piano, played by Shorty Long, adds a touch of gospel flavor. But this track is all about the vocal. Elvis pours every ounce of his being into the performance. When he sings the final lines, his voice cracking with emotion, it's a moment of pure, raw, musical catharsis. This recording is a perfect example of how Elvis could take a song and make it completely his own. He heard the gospel roots in the Eagles' original, and he amplified them. He was raised on gospel music. He understood its power. He took the spiritual fervor of the original and personalized it. He turned the song into a personal testament. It's no longer just a song about trying to get to a lover. It sounds like he's trying to get to a higher state of grace, to some kind of personal salvation. It's a deep and profoundly moving performance. It shows that Elvis was not just a great rock and roller, he was one of the great vocalists of the 20th century. He could take a beautiful R&B ballad and elevate it into something transcendent, all while honoring the emotional core of the original. Number 7, Could One Night of Sin Be Tamed for the Mainstream? The original title of Smiley Lewis's 1956 song was One Night of Sin, with lyrics that were considered too suggestive for mainstream radio at the time. When Elvis recorded it, he initially used the original, racier lyrics in an unreleased version, but later recorded the cleaned-up version for release, changing One Night of Sin to One Night with You. Dave Bartholomew, the producer and co-writer of the original, was a key architect of the New Orleans sound and also produced Fats Domino's greatest hits. Smiley Lewis was another great talent from the New Orleans music scene. He had a big, booming voice and a string of R&B hits in the 1950s. He often worked with the legendary producer and songwriter Dave Bartholomew. In 1956, they wrote and recorded a song called One Night of Sin. The song is a slow, bluesy ballad. Lewis's voice is full of longing and regret. The lyrics are a stark confession. One night of sin is what I'm now paying for. The things I did and I saw would make the earth stand still. It's a powerful adult song about desire and its consequences. The original recording is pure New Orleans, with a rolling piano and a mournful horn section. It was a solid R&B hit, but the suggestive title and lyrics kept it from crossing over to the mainstream pop charts. Elvis loved the song. In 1957, he went into the studio and recorded a version using the original explicit of sin lyrics. This version is incredible. It's a dark, brooding, and intensely passionate performance. You can hear Elvis fully embracing the song's adult themes. However, his record company, RCA, and his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, knew that releasing a song with that title would cause a massive controversy. It was too risky. The recording was shelved. A year later, in 1958, Elvis was persuaded to record a new version with revised lyrics. And the songwriter Pearl King changed the key line from One Night of Sin to One Night with You. This seemingly small change completely altered the song's tone. It was no longer a song of regret and consequences. It became a straightforward song of longing and desire. One Night with You is what I'm now praying for. The sin was replaced by a prayer. The darkness was replaced by romance. This new, tamer version, simply titled One Night, was the one that was released. It became a huge hit. It's a fantastic record. Elvis gives a stunning vocal performance. He sings with a tenderness and a vulnerability that is incredibly moving. The arrangement is beautiful, with a simple guitar accompaniment and soft backing vocals from the Jordanaires. It's one of his greatest ballads, but the story of the two versions is fascinating. It shows the pressure Elvis was under to conform to mainstream tastes. The raw, rebellious blues singer was being polished and packaged for mass consumption. The version of One Night of Sin that he recorded in 1957 is a glimpse of a more dangerous, more adult Elvis that was rarely seen by the public. The released version of One Night is a pop masterpiece. Both are brilliant in their own way, and both are a testament to the power of the original song by Smiley Lewis. Lewis and Bartholomew created a melody and a mood that was so compelling that it could work as both a dark, bluesy confession and a tender, romantic ballad. It was a piece of New Orleans magic, and Elvis, in his own way, performed both sides of the spell. Number 6, How Does a Bluesman's Plea Become the King's Command? Lowell Fulson, the writer and original performer of Reconsider Baby, was a major figure in West Coast blues and was a mentor to a young Ray Charles and Stanley Turrentine. Fulson's original 1954 recording features a distinctive stinging guitar style that influenced countless later guitarists, including Eric Clapton. Elvis's 1960 version was recorded for his first post-Army album, Elvis is Back, and is considered by many to be his finest pure blues recording. Lowell Fulson was a blues giant. He was born in Oklahoma, but became a key architect of the West Coast blues sound in the 1940s and 50s. He was a great singer, a talented songwriter, and a phenomenal guitarist. His style was sophisticated and horn-driven, but it was still deeply rooted in the blues. In 1954, he wrote and recorded Reconsider Baby for Checker Records, a subsidiary of the legendary Chess Records. The original is a slow-burning masterpiece. It's a classic blues plea. A man is begging his woman to come back to him. Fulson's voice is smooth but full of pain. His guitar playing is sharp and incisive. He plays single note lines that sting and cry. The song features a powerful horn section that punctuates his vocal phrases. It's a sophisticated urban blues. It was a big R&B hit and became Fulson's signature song. Elvis Presley had been in the Army for 2 years. He returned to the United States in March 1960. The music world had changed. Rock and roll had moved on. There was a lot of speculation about what his new music would sound like. Would he still be the rebellious rocker, or would he become a mainstream pop singer? His first recording session after the Army was for the album that would be titled Elvis is Back. And one of the first songs he recorded was Reconsider Baby. It was a powerful statement. Elvis's version is, simply put, one of the greatest blues recordings ever made by a white artist. He sings the song with an incredible depth of feeling and a complete understanding of the blues idiom. His voice had matured in the Army. It was deeper, richer, and more powerful. He sings with a raw, emotional honesty that is breathtaking. The band is a mix of his old rock and roll band and Nashville's finest session musicians. The combination is electric. The standout performance, besides Elvis's vocal, is the saxophone solo by Boots Randolph. It is a wild, screaming, honking solo that is pure rock and roll energy. It perfectly captures the song's tormented emotion. Scotty Moore also contributes a sharp, bluesy guitar solo. The whole track is a masterclass in blues performance. It's tight, it's powerful, and it's full of soul. Elvis isn't just imitating a blues singer, he is a blues singer. By choosing to record this song for his comeback album, Elvis was sending a clear message. He was telling the world that he had not forgotten his roots. He was still connected to the raw emotional power of the blues. He was paying homage to a great artist like Lowell Fulson, and he was doing it with a performance that was worthy of the original. He took Fulson's plea and turned it into his own powerful emotional statement. It was a stunning return to form and a reminder that, at his core, the king of rock and roll was a king of the blues as well. Number 5, could a song be both naughty and nice? Such a Night was originally a hit for the Drifters in 1954, with Clyde McPhatter singing the lead. The song was banned by many radio stations because its lyrics were considered too sexually suggestive for the time. Elvis's first attempt to release the song in the UK in 1960 was also met with a ban from the BBC for the same reason. The Drifters, led by the incredible Clyde McPhatter, were masters of R&B. In 1954, they recorded Such a Night. The song, written by Lincoln Chase, is an upbeat, joyful celebration of a memorable romantic encounter. It has a bouncing, swinging rhythm and a playful call-and-response vocal arrangement. McFadder's lead vocal is full of charm and charisma. The lyrics, however, were a bit too much for 1954. Lines like, "It was a night, ooh, what a night it was." It really was such a night were delivered with a wink and a nudge that left little to the imagination. The song was a hit on the R&B charts, but many pop radio stations refused to play it. It was too suggestive. And Elvis recorded Such a Night in 1960 for his Elvis Is Back album, like Reconsider Baby. It was a statement of his musical identity. His version is pure, unadulterated fun. It's a rock and roll party from the first note to the last. He sings with a joyous abandon. You can hear him smiling as he sings. He's clearly having a great time. The band is swinging hard. The Jordanaires provide energetic backing vocals. Boots Randolph once again contributes a fantastic raucous saxophone solo. Elvis's version takes the playful suggestiveness of the original and turns up the volume. He delivers the lyrics with a confident swagger. He's not just hinting at a good time, he's celebrating it. The recording is a perfect blend of R&B, pop, and rock and roll. It's sophisticated enough for adults, but has the raw energy to appeal to teenagers. It's a testament to Elvis's versatility. On the same album, he could deliver a deep, emotional blues like Reconsider Baby, and a fun, carefree rocker like Such a Night. The controversy that had surrounded the song in 1954 hadn't completely disappeared. When RCA tried to release Elvis's version as a single in the United Kingdom, the BBC banned it, finding it still too risque. The ban was eventually lifted and the song became a hit. The story of the song's reception, both in its original form and in Elvis's cover, shows the changing social mores of the time. What was considered scandalous in the mid-50s was becoming more acceptable by the early 60s, thanks in no small part to the barriers that artists like the Drifters and Elvis himself had broken down. He had taken a song that lived on the fringes of the pop world and turned it into a mainstream smash, all without losing its playful, rebellious spirit. Number 4, Can You Catch a Fever from a Song? Fever was written by Eddie Cooley and Otis Blackwell, who used the pseudonym John Davenport. Otis Blackwell was a prolific black songwriter who also wrote Don't Be Cruel, All Shook Up, and Return to Sender for Elvis, though he and Elvis never actually met. The most famous version of Fever before Elvis's was Peggy Lee's minimalist, jazzy arrangement from 1958, which featured only a bass, drums, and finger snaps. The story of Fever begins in 1956 with a rhythm and blues singer named Little Willie John. He was a phenomenal talent with a powerful, emotional voice. He recorded the original version of Fever. His version is a mid-tempo R&B song with a full band and a horn section. It has a dramatic theatrical quality. Little Willie John sings with an incredible intensity. The song was a #1 R&B hit and a top 40 pop hit. It was a great record. 2 years later, the jazz and pop singer Peggy Lee recorded her iconic version. She stripped the song down to its bare essentials. Her arrangement is incredibly spare and minimalist. It's just her cool, breathy voice, a stand-up bass, and a drummer playing with his hands. She added new lyrics to the song, referencing classic love stories like Romeo and Juliet. Her version is cool, sophisticated, and incredibly sensual. It became a massive international hit and is the version that most people think of when they hear the song. In 1960, for the Elvis Is Back album, Elvis recorded his own take on Fever. His version is a clear homage to Peggy Lee's arrangement. He uses the same minimalist instrumentation, bass, drums, and finger snaps. He also uses the new lyrics that she had added. But Elvis brings his own unique flavor to the song, where Peggy Lee is cool and detached, Elvis is warm and intimate. He sings in a soft, breathy whisper. It's one of his most subtle and seductive vocal performances. The recording is a masterpiece of restraint. The musicians create a sparse, hypnotic groove. Elvis's voice floats over the top. He uses his vocal range to create a sense of drama and tension. He goes from a low, rumbling murmur to a high, clear falsetto. It's a beautifully controlled performance. It shows a level of artistry and sophistication that many people didn't think he was capable of. It proved once again that he was more than just a rock and roll shouter. He was a master interpreter of songs. The Journey of Fever is a fascinating look at how a song can evolve. It started as a dramatic R&B hit for Little Willie John. It was then transformed into a cool, jazzy pop standard by Peggy Lee. Finally, Elvis Presley took that sophisticated arrangement and infused it with his own unique brand of warmth and sensuality. Each version is a classic in its own right, and it all started with a great song from the pen of Otis Blackwell, one of the unsung black heroes of the rock and roll era. Number 3, who's the boss in a world of changing music? And Jimmy Reed, the original artist behind Big Boss Man, was a hugely popular and influential blues artist whose simple, hypnotic guitar style and slurred vocal delivery were his trademarks. Reed suffered from epilepsy, which was not properly diagnosed for many years, and his alcoholism was often a misguided attempt to control his seizures. Elvis recorded Big Boss Man in 1967 for the soundtrack of his movie Clambake, and the raw, energetic performance was a stark contrast to the film's lighthearted, formulaic plot. Jimmy Reed was one of the most successful blues artists of the late 1950s and early 60s. He had a sound that was instantly recognizable. It was simple, but it was irresistible. He played a hypnotic, repetitive boogie riff on his guitar, while his harmonica wailed over the top. His singing style was lazy and slurred, but it was full of personality. He had a string of hits on the R&B and pop charts, a rare feat for a bluesman of his era. In 1960, he recorded Big Boss Man. The song is a classic blues complaint. A worker is talking back to his overbearing boss. Big boss man, can't you hear me when I call? You ain't so big, you're just tall, that's all. It's a song of defiance delivered in Reed's signature laid-back style. It has a loping, infectious groove that is impossible not to move to. By 1967, Elvis Presley's career was in a strange place. He was one of the most famous people in the world, but he was trapped in a cycle of making mediocre movies and recording mediocre soundtracks. His musical output had become formulaic and uninspired. He was disconnected from the vibrant, revolutionary music scene of the late 60s. But every now and then, in the middle of a weak soundtrack album, a flash of the old Elvis would appear. His recording of Big Boss Man for the movie Clambake was one of those moments. Elvis tears into the song with a passion and energy that had been missing from his recent work. His version is much faster and more aggressive than Jimmy Reed's original. It's a full-blown, guitar-driven rock and roll assault. The lead guitar, played by the great session musician Jerry Reed, no relation to Jimmy, is wild and distorted. The drumming is powerful and driving. Elvis's voice is raw and full of attitude. He sings the song not as a laid-back complaint, but as an angry, defiant shout. He sounds like a man who is fed up. The performance is electrifying. It's a reminder of the raw, rebellious power that Elvis still possessed. It's a 2.5-minute burst of pure rock and roll energy, hidden away on the soundtrack of a silly beach movie. For the fans who were still listening closely, it was a sign that the real Elvis was still in there, waiting for his chance to break free. And once again, he had found his inspiration in the blues. He took a classic song by a blues master like Jimmy Reed and used it to channel his own frustrations and to reconnect with the raw power that had made him a star in the first place. Number 2. How can a song of devotion emerge from tragedy? You're Johnny Ace, who had a huge posthumous hit with Pledging My Love, died backstage at a concert on Christmas Day, 1954, from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, which was officially ruled as an accident. Ace was a phenomenally popular R&B star, often called the Black James Dean, and his death at the age of 25 shocked the music world. Elvis recorded Pledging My Love in 1976 during his final studio recording sessions at his home, Graceland, making it one of the last songs he ever officially recorded. The story of Johnny Ace is one of the most tragic in music history. He was a young, handsome, and incredibly talented R&B singer and pianist from Memphis. In the early 1950s, he had a string of beautiful, soulful ballads that made him a huge star in the R&B world. His songs were full of romance and devotion. In late 1954, he recorded Pledging My Love. It was another stunning ballad, a heartfelt declaration of eternal love. But Johnny Ace would not live to see it become his biggest hit. On Christmas Day, 1954, he died backstage at a show in Houston. The official story is that he was playing with a pistol and accidentally shot himself. His death sent a shockwave through the music community. Pledging My Love was released shortly after his death and became a massive posthumous hit, crossing over to the pop charts. The song became a memorial to the young star, its romantic lyrics now tinged with a deep sense of tragedy and loss. Elvis Presley was in the early stages of his own career when Johnny Ace died. As a fellow Memphis musician, he was certainly aware of Ace's music and his tragic death. The song Pledging My Love remained a classic of the R&B ballad form. In October 1976, Elvis was in the Jungle Room, his den at Graceland, which had been converted into a recording studio. These would be his last formal studio sessions. He was in poor health, and his mood was often dark, but when the music started, he could still summon moments of incredible power and beauty. During these sessions, he chose to record Pledging My Love. Elvis's version is a deeply emotional and heartfelt tribute to the original. He sings the song with a quiet, sincere dignity. His voice is heavy with emotion. He sounds weary, but also full of a deep, abiding love. The arrangement is simple and elegant, with a gentle rhythm section and soft backing vocals. It's a beautiful, mature performance. Coming at the end of his life, the song takes on an added layer of poignancy. It sounds like a final declaration, a summing up of a life spent in search of love and connection. It is incredibly moving to think of Elvis, near the end of his life, returning to a song from his youth, a song born of tragedy, a song of pure and simple devotion. It shows the enduring power of this music. A beautiful R&B ballad written and performed by a young black star from Memphis became a final, fitting statement for the king of rock and roll, another Memphis boy who would change the world. The connection was deep, and it was lifelong. The music of his roots was also the music of his final days. Number 1, Can You Find the Blues in a Bayou? Crawfish was originally recorded for Elvis's 1958 film, King Creole, as a duet with Kitty White, a respected black jazz and blues singer. The song's atmospheric, swampy feel was a departure for Elvis, showcasing his ability to adapt to different musical styles. The song was written by the songwriting team of Fred Wise and Ben Weissman, who wrote over 50 songs for Elvis, making them his most frequent collaborators. The film King Creole, set in New Orleans, is widely considered to be Elvis's best movie. It allowed him to act in a serious dramatic role, and the soundtrack was filled with high-quality blues and jazz-inflected songs that perfectly matched the film's gritty atmosphere. The opening song of the film is Crawfish. It's a unique and atmospheric piece of music. It's not a rocker. It's not a ballad. It's a slow, swampy call-and-response blues. The song is designed to set the scene, to transport the listener to the streets of the French Quarter at dawn. The recording features Elvis singing the part of a street vendor, advertising his crawfish. His voice is deep and bluesy. Answering his calls is the voice of a woman, a street vendor of her own, played on the recording by Kitty White. She was a respected jazz and R&B singer who had worked with artists like Buddy Collette and Lorindo Almeida. Her voice provides a beautiful, haunting counterpoint to Elvis's. The instrumentation is sparse and evocative. It features a bongo-driven rhythm, a clarinet, and a simple, repeating guitar figure. The whole thing sounds like it's rising up out of the morning mist on the bayou. It's a brilliant piece of musical storytelling. While Crawfish is not a direct cover of a pre-existing R&B hit, its DNA is pure rhythm and blues. It's a work song, a street cry, a form that is one of the deepest roots of the blues. The call and response structure is a fundamental part of the African American musical tradition. The song was written for Elvis by white songwriters, but they were clearly drawing on the rich musical heritage of New Orleans and the blues to create its authentic sound. The inclusion of a talented black singer like Kitty White on the track further solidifies this connection. Crawfish is a perfect final example of the deep and complex relationship Elvis had with black music. It shows that his connection to R&B was not just about covering hits, it was about absorbing the feel, the rhythms, and the soul of the music. He could take a song written specifically for a Hollywood movie and infuse it with the authentic spirit of the blues. He understood where the power of this music came from. It came from the street. It came from the workers. It came from the everyday lives of the people who created it. From the first accidental explosion of That's All Right to the atmospheric blues of Crawfish, Elvis Presley's journey was powered by the rhythm and blues. He was the lightning rod, the amplifier, the global superstar, but the current came from the brilliant and often uncredited black artists who wrote the songs, played the riffs, and sang the blues that paved the way for rock and roll.